Hey guys, Jim here, Johnson's Home and Garden. Weird time right now going on here in Western Washington, so we haven't been able to do a lot of demos in front of the store on our turkeys like we do every year. So we want to do a quick video. We've been getting asked a lot of questions about doing their first time turkey on their Traeger or their green egg. So I'm just going to give a very basic overview of brining, my favorite spatchcocking, and then smoking the bird. So I'm gonna go pretty fast because I don't want it to be a long video. There's a million ways to do it. This is just one. So please, if you have other ideas on how you like to do your bird or smoke your bird, put it in the comments of this video so we can share with other people. So first thing we're gonna do real quick, we're gonna brine. So the idea about brining is the salt actually unwinds or dissolves like protein fibers, and so then that lets water, more moisture inside the bird. Does add a little bit of a flavor profile. Typically that's in your seasoning or injecting, but really you're gonna have a very moist bird, even the white meat. So really quick, basic brine is really a cup of salt and a gallon of water. You don't want to brine too long. I usually do overnight. I keep it in I'll explain that later. I keep it on the back porch, but 12 hours or so on a wet brine. So basic wet brine, what we're gonna do is I have about a quart of water boiling here in this hot plate. So we're gonna get that going real quick. You don't have to boil it. It just mixes a lot better to get all of those flavors away. So first, like I said, a cup of salt. You can also deduct the amount of salt that you use by adding a little bit of a sugar, whether it be brown sugar, maple syrup, bourbon, it could be anything. That's your brine. You make the brine how you want to do. So we're gonna start off with some salt. Like I said, we're gonna add a little bit of sugar, so it's not just pure salt, so a little bit of brown sugar. A lot of people like to do black peppercorn, so we're gonna put some black peppercorn in there. I have some thyme that from my garden that I dried, so we're gonna put a little bit of that in there. Maybe some citrus, whether it be lemons, oranges. You also can put ginger. Fresh ginger is really good in there. All kinds of stuff. You can make it a sweet brine, whatever you want to do. So we're gonna let that boil so it mixes a little bit better. Give it a quick stir real quick. Okay, and while that's boiling, we're gonna spatchcock and prep the bird. You can spatchcock the bird after you brine it. It's just easier to get into a container for brining. Because also when you brine, you wanna make sure that your protein stays completely submerged under the brine. You don't want it floating or whatever. So got a pretty basic small bird here. First thing you want to do, look and see if there's any more pin feathers anywhere. Get that cleared out. Take out your neck, your giblets, whatever. When brining, it would be best to use a fresh bird. A fresh bird usually hasn't sat in a salty solution like frozen birds have. But I've brined frozen birds before and it worked pretty good. So there's a little bit of price difference. So I'm gonna trim it up real quick before I get anything. I'm gonna cut the tail off. I know a lot of you are bums. Some of you, that's your favorite part of the turkey. And then to spatchcock, what we're gonna do is, ultimately, we're just gonna cut out the backbone of this bird. We're gonna butterfly it. The reason we do that, you get better smoke penetration into that cavity of the bird because you eliminate the cavity, and it's flatter, so it cooks more evenly. So if I was great with my knife skills, which I'm not, I'm still like first grade knife skills. If you watch videos on YouTube, they can do it with just a really sharp kitchen knife. I'm not that good and it makes me a little nervous. So I usually like to score it first with a kitchen knife. So I just go alongside the backbone and score where I'm gonna go. Okay. Remember, I'm a hardware store manager, I'm not a chef, so you can make fun of me if you want, but this isn't my forte. Then I start at the neck and I just crunch it and go back. Be very careful, shears are sharp. This is the hardest part about brining and smoking a turkey, in my opinion. Right here is a hip bone. So that's gonna be pretty hard to get through. Again, with knife skills, if you got good knife skills, you should be able to work through that joint there. And again, I'm not, so I can't. So I just cheat with raw force in these shears. At Johnson's Home and Garden, we have Traeger shears, green egg shears, Wusthof shears. So if you need some good poultry shears, come here and we got them for you. So you can keep this backbone and the neck and the giblets for gravy, whatever, stock. If you want to make stock, there's a little bit of ice left in this bird. Thought it was fresh, but I guess they lied. So I like to trim off some of this neck skin. Just makes it a little bit better. Okay, so spatchcocking now. So there's one more step. You got to get in here to this cavity, and there's a little bit of cartilage right here. Right here is your, it's your breastbone. So some people will cut that breastbone out. You can see it here. I usually just make sure I score that cartilage by the breastbone. So you just get right here. You can see it's a little bit of white cartilage. You need to score that down. Try not to cut your knife into the meat because that's all valuable meat right in there. So I scored it. Then you get your hands down here and you bust it up. Sounds pretty painful, poor girl. Okay, so we're gonna lay the turkey out, kind of push it down, kind of look, see if I need to trim anything else off right now. I think we're good. We're gonna be ready for brining. Okay, so like I said, you're gonna need a lot more water for the brine. So what I recommend doing is only boil about a quart of water. Unlike Rookie Jim, who tried to boil a whole gallon of water the first time he ever brined, and that takes a long time, but whatever. I like to add some ice in it for your water. It's gonna cool it down real quick. You do not want that brine to be hot when you put it on the bird, because you're gonna pre-cook that bird. Get that ice sauce a little bit, cool that moisture. Okay, another quick question. A lot of people ask, what do I brine it in? You can brine it in a stock pot. You can buy a $40 food safe bucket if you want. You can brine the briner bucket, Yeti bucket. It's your turkey. You can do whatever you want. What I like to recommend here is just a basic Johnson's Home and Garden yellow bucket. And you could do it in there if you want. I like to use these extra large Ziploc baggies. I'll talk about it a little bit as we go. We also sell these, or you can buy these at your local hardware store as well. So first I'm gonna put the bird in. I like to go breast down. See how it folds up a lot nicer to go in this bag here. So I get her down there, okay? As you pour that brine in, which is nice and cool, if you don't spatchcock it, you wanna make sure that you get the air out of the cavity and stuff, because there's always gonna be air. So you pour the brine in. Okay. We'll put a little bit more ice in there real quick. Okay. So now what's cool with this bag, and hopefully I can do it because I'm not in my kitchen, but so you got the bag here. I like to then put water between the bag and the bucket, because that's gonna help you. It's gonna create a vacuum, and it's gonna help get the air out of the Ziploc baggie. So hopefully I have enough water here to show you. So if you look down in here, you can see our turkey with the brine and stuff. There's a little bit sticking up, but as I close this Ziploc bag, we'll be good. I probably would have liked to add a little more water, but you'll get the idea. I would said cutting the backbone out was the hardest part. I take that back. I think the hardest part is making the Ziploc baggie seal. I've never been good at them. So you push the bag down in the water, and as you're doing it, it's pushing the air out of the bag. So it's easier than trying to squeeze that bag over and over. Another cool thing about doing it in the bucket, you can now take this bag out, put it in a cooler, keep it in ice. You want to keep it below, about 41 degrees. I like using the bucket because I would have more ice at home. I would pour on top of the bucket. I put it on the back porch overnight, and it keeps that valuable space in the refrigerator for all the other goodies at Thanksgiving. Okay, now that we let that bird brine for the 12 hours, overnight, and I'm wearing the same clothes, it's time for the next step. You can rinse the bird if you want to get rid of some of that salty flavor. I don't typically, but I do pat dry it with clean paper towels. You want to dry that bird completely out. Another thing, if you brine too long, those protein fibers are going to get too mushy. You're going to end up getting kind of rubbery, mushy meat. So when you're wet brining, don't do it too long. So you're going to want to make sure you get all that moisture off that bird. Now's the time you can trim a little bit more if you need be. I think we're pretty good. So first, before I lay the bird all out, I like to season. So here at Johnson's Home and Garden, I just counted to make sure we have 250 different barbecue rubs and spices. So we have Whiskey Bent, which is one of my favorite, Meat Church, full Spiceology line, Dizzy Pig, a local Wren's, Big Green Egg seasonings, all of the Traeger seasonings. So we have something for everyone. I really like this turkey rub made by Spiceology. So with your rub, you don't need to go too easy. Literally put it on that bird. Season that bird everywhere. The bottom, the top. Go to town. So, oops. I like to do this outside because if I do it in our kitchen, I usually get in trouble. Hey, bug. So I'm gonna flip her over real quick, get the inside. So then, after you season, let it sit, about 5 minutes or so. Let that seasoning get wet and kind of adhere to the bird, okay? We're gonna fast forward for the sake of the video though. So now, the next step, you're gonna wanna, some people remove the wing tips. I like to just fold them in. So just fold in your wing tips and you tuck them under like that. If you can see, I'll do it with this one here one time. Pull it out, tuck it under, kind of squeeze it. So it helps keep those tips from burning. Also, so when you take the thighs and the legs, I like to lay them out. And how I always explain to people, your breast should be laying out into kind of a nice little heart shape. And that's pretty much how you go. So when you cook it, spatchcocking is gonna cut your cook time in about half. So always you wanna go for 165 degree internal temperature of the bird. But so you can smoke it in any grill. You can smoke it at a low temperature if you want. For the entire process, I'm gonna do 250 for about an hour so we can get a little bit of smoke in there. Then I'm gonna crank it up to about 350. This bird is probably gonna get done in about 2 hours. But again, you don't go to time. You don't cook to time, you cook to internal temperature of the meat. So I got the grill preheated here at 250. I'm gonna lay that bird in there. Kind of lay her out nice because once she starts crisping up, that's the shape that she's gonna be on the platter for you. Now's the time if you wanna put a little more seasoning in here. It's not gonna hurt the Ironwood 885. We can always clean her out, so. All right, so we're gonna let her cook for about an hour at 250, then we're gonna crank it up. We'll see you soon. All right, so we're back. So that bird has been in for about 2 hours, So our internal temperature is at 165. You can take it off a little bit sooner at like 160 and just lightly tinted. It will increase to 165 and continue to cook, but we just went straight to 165. Make sure, even though I use the Traeger meat probe, make sure that you still use your thermometer and check in the thighs and the breast to make sure that throughout you're cooked properly. All right, all good. Take her off. Really quick, just wanted to show a trick that everyone uses if you haven't used it yet. I like to wear the latex gloves when we're working, but if you just put basic cotton work gloves underneath, they kind of work like an oven glove, so you can pick up hot items and not burn your hands. So let's take this bird out. You are going to want to rest the bird before you start trimming it up and carving. Take it off very carefully because when they're spatchcocked, it will start tearing. So here's our dinner so far. I'm gonna put a little bit of tin foil over that, lightly let it tent. We're gonna let it rest for about 45 minutes and then we'll come back and slice it and check it out. All right, so we've let it rest. Of course, gave it plenty of time to rest, but the truth is it smells so good, I can't wait any longer. So, at this time you would platter it for the table, you know, decorate it up, make it look nice or whatever. But I'm just gonna show how easy it is to carve up a spatchcock bird. That's why I like it so much. So the first thing I do is, there's no bone here, so you can just run the knife between the thighs and the legs. Boom, it's off, right? So we'll just set it in that pan to get it out of the way. Same with this side, you know, just boom, it's off. Sometimes, if you want, you can pop the wings off just like this. So they just pop right off. So that goes in there. The cool thing about the breast meat, which is usually, remember, so dry at grandma's house. Sorry, grandma, but will be so juicy. So you just slice her out with your sharp knife, like I have. And if you can get closer in here, just a very moist bird. So, just really quick to go over it. Brine breaks up those protein fibers, lets more moisture into the bird. Brine overnight. Rinse, pat dry, season. You can butter. You can do so many different things with your turkey. So if you need any supplies whatsoever, Johnson's Home and Garden is getting shipments daily of seasonings. We just got another shipment of brines in. We have brine bags, buckets. We even have Wusthof knives. So come check it out, and from our family to yours, happy Thanksgiving.